Jackson like my I can't stop you from your shit around them motherfuckers like.
Somebody ain't no duos, we ain't teamed up on
guys.
Alright guys, so over the last couple of days, Summer Smash has been going on in Chicago, and it's, other than Rolling Loud, it's pretty much the biggest like rap music festival, especially for like this younger audience of fans. And usually people just perform whatever, fans have fun. But this year, Ken Carson decided to diss Yeat and Don Toliver during his set. And the thing about Ken Carson and Yeat is they've had this like almost like Cold War-ish type of beef for over like 2 years for God knows what, like really petty stuff. But this time, what makes it different is they brought Don Toliver into it. So it adds a whole new layer to the whole beef. And if you guys also remember, Destroy Lonely, when he got like exposed by his ex-girlfriend, got exposed for like showing fake love to Don Toliver and actually hating on him behind the scenes. So anyways, I kind of wanted to go over the disses, the back and forth, and just give you guys my thoughts. So it started off with this clip that I played in the beginning when Ken Carson said, "F you talking about, ain't no duos." For some context, the day before, Yeat headlined Summer Smash in the night, and him and Don Toliver, like their entrance was like through a helicopter landing. Like they hopped out of a helicopter. They didn't actually, it was like they had stunt doubles, but it was just a cool entrance. They performed. But here's the thing, right? They didn't diss Ken Carson at all. Ken Carson dissed them, or specifically Yeat. And so far, Yeat is handling this perfectly, and Ken Carson kind of looks pretty bad in this situation. I'm just going to explain. So first of all, Yeat was headlining the night. That means he was the biggest name. He was the last person. He was the nighttime set. He was the person that everybody was watching, right? Ken Carson was like late in the day, right? So first of all, Yeat's already like above him in this sense, at least, right? And it was quickly pointed out. Notice that he's not headlining by Yeat fans. The other thing too is Yeat isn't even like acknowledging any of these disses from Opium. You know what I mean? But anyways, I'll go over more of the reactions, but I kind of want to go over the progression of this beef. So instead of Yeat responding, Don Toliver responded. He said, "People be on lame shit, just get your money and go home, lol." And he shows himself just like on the game, like chilling, right? Then he says, "My baby mama got more money than you guys. Y'all need to work harder." Then Ken Carson responds and then quickly deletes by saying, "You the worst thing that happened to your baby mom." Yeah, basically saying, yo, you're a whatever. I don't know. So before saying anything, I feel like Ken Carson almost can't even win in this because he provoked the beef. He wasn't even really talking about Don Toliver, if we're being honest. They've been throwing like subtle jabs at Yeat. Yeat doesn't respond. Don Toliver responds. Don Toliver is a really big artist, by the way. I know, like, I don't think he has the largest community, but he's a really big artist, right? Don Toliver responds, and he honestly gives a very logical response. He's like, yo, like, well, you didn't even need to do that, right? And the other thing too is that Cardi and Travis Scott are cool, right? They've had plenty of songs together, like over the years. Like they had Love Hurts, that was like a huge song. Fiend, huge song. They're clearly, I'm not gonna say close, but technically Travis Scott is one of Cardi's closest collaborators. You know what I mean? And it almost creates like this beef between Cactus Jack and Opium 2. You know what I mean? Which is why it was like weird and definitely not a good move for them to diss Don Toliver too. Because now instead of Destroy Lonely, Ken Carson and Lil ADA dissing Yeat, now they're dissing Yeat, Don Toliver, Travis Scott. Technically even so fake, but you know what I mean? It's just not a great idea. But anyways, let's see what some of these fans had to say. Why can't everyone be friends? And it's like a video of them performing together 2 years ago. Damn, that venue is like way smaller. He talking about ain't no duos, but every hit song he ever made was with him and Lone. Yeat never said anything about Ken or Lone. Why they gotta keep going at him? Why can't we just make music? Probably jealous. Someone said, Yeat don't be giving no f***s. He say whatever he wants. He do whatever he want. He count out that money for fun. He be popping them f***s just for fun. Alright, that was like a play on Yeat's song names, but you get the point. Someone else said, he mad he performing with the sun out. So if you're not familiar with how festivals work, like the least lit artists perform at the daytime. Like if someone's performing at like noon at a festival, they're not really that turned, right? Those are the daytime sets. And then, you know, it gets closer and closer into the evening. Those are the more hyped up ones. And then the nighttime sets, sometimes it's just one or two. Those are like the headline. There's one headliner. And that's like the most anticipated biggest act. Like last year, I think it was Cardi on the third day. And it was crazy, right? Everyone just was there for Cardi. This year it was Young Thug. So basically, Ken Carson wasn't... Let me actually look at the poster and see where he was this year. Okay, so Ken Carson wasn't like underneath Young Thug. He was like, they put him as like a special Sunday night performance, but yeah, he basically wasn't a headliner, all right? Now, the other thing a lot of fans were talking about is just how random and not needed this beef was overall. Like Igor said, 2025 is the year of fake label mandated beefs to sell more albums, I guess. What reason do these guys have to beef? What do Cardi and Travis have to think about this? Somebody said Travis and Cardi have to have a talk with them. Cactus Jack versus Opium beef, I thought I'd never see the day. Now, I'm not gonna lie, if Cardi and Travis Scott started beefing, that would actually be crazy. But this doesn't really matter. It's not really a big deal. It's more so just like, all right, whatever, cool, you know, just. And the reason why I don't think people are really reacting that much, I mean, they are reacting, why it's just not that big of a deal, is because Don Toliver is in a complete different world from Ken Carson, Destroy Lonely. Don Toliver makes like, he sings on like guitar, trap beats, if that makes sense. I mean, that's not like the greatest description of Don Toliver's music, but you get the point. He's not really like a Ken Carson or Destroy Lonely. I feel like the whole Yeat, Ken Carson, Destroy Lonely beef is more important because I feel like every single Yeat fan is a Ken Carson or Lone fan, and vice versa, you know what I mean? There's no real like, I mean, sure, everyone has their preferences, but they're so similar to each other, right? Or their sounds are. It's just hard not to be a fan of all of them, you know? The other thing fans are also talking about is like, I was like a beef of chop people. So, but I don't really care about any of this. I'm just saying everyone knows Ken Carson got like the Goomba look-like comparison, and I didn't even know this, but apparently fans call Don Toliver Dr. Nefario from the Minions. Someone said Yeat might have to step in. They put Gru. I speak for everyone when I say we're on Dr. Nefario's side. They beefing for who looks more human. Someone said, so Fago, save us. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is such like an uninteresting but random beef. Like, I honestly wonder where this will progress. To close it off though, Ken Carson is definitely the lamer person in the situation, just because they've dissed Yeat so many times, right? They dissed Yeat like countless times. I think Lil 88 did, Lone did, Ken has done it, and Yeat has literally never come back at them. You know what I mean? And part of me feels like, yo, how much disrespect is he gonna take without saying anything? But another part of me feels like, yo, when you're way bigger than someone, or just bigger than someone, because if you look at Yeat on streaming, he's bigger than all of them. I mean, there's a reason why he's headlining, right? And just being the biggest in that scene almost makes me feel like he doesn't even need to say anything. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm gonna make like a mainstream comparison. Like, and this is like totally different. But Drake and Kendrick Lamar were like they're throwing like subs and, you know, like sneak disses towards each other in music for years and years and years. And then finally Kendrick like dropped a verse on that song like that, and that set off a crazy beef. Maybe Yeat's just waiting for the perfect time, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I feel like if he does actually beef with them, then Cardi's gonna say something too, because at the end of the day, they're his artists. But I don't know, I think the whole thing is kind of weird. Personally, I feel like Ken Carson wasn't really thinking when he said ain't no duos or whatever. I think he really was just trying to diss Yeat. I don't think he thought that, oh wait, Don Toliver's Cactus Jack, technically I'm dissing Travis Scott now. You know what I mean? I don't think he was thinking about the implications of that. But anyways, let me know what you think, and yeah, peace, take care.